Yeah. Check 1 2. Peace, peace. Barghani, Islam, Salam, Etepu, Rahubat, Ginolako Ninani, Chief Noble Bandele Elamine. Back again for another show. All right, in today's show, we're going to be dealing with the hidden mystery behind the 4th of July. You know, so a lot of people, especially melanated people, are going to be out here celebrating. And we want to talk about, what's the real meaning behind it? What's the esoteric meanings behind all this? Okay, so that's what we're going to get into. Hopefully, I won't be too long, take up too much of your time, but I would like to, bring about some things for y'all to check out before we get into that. Before we get into that, I want you to check out our website. I'm going to put it in. Check out indigenousmoors.org. All right. Check out indigenousmoors.org. It's the one-stop shop for your Moorish needs, your indigenous needs. If you'd like to make a donation to the temple, or even if you want to make a donation because of these videos we make, you can always go here to donate, okay? And anything will help, and we appreciate it. But also, you can go here on Indigenous Services, and you can check out all our books. So we got books from King El Bay, Stop Child Support, and then we got books by Amin Ma'at Ra, which is the Amin Ra Illumination, right? And we also have his other book. So you can go check out his books, King El Bay's books, and of course, my books are on here as well. And the newest book is the Navigating Melanated Melanated Love and Relationships in the Modern Era. So please go check that book out. And it's also on Amazon. All right. So with that being said, what I want to do tonight is I want to discuss not even the issues, but like what's really going on with the 4th of July. We as melanated people across the world, United States, I should say, we celebrate the 4th of July without really understanding the esoteric meaning behind it, right? So tonight we want to look at that. But before we get into any of that, please share this video. Please like this video, all right? And share the video. Share it to your friends. Share this page to your friends. Allow the people to get the information so that we can keep doing what we're doing, and we can continue to do it and get more, get more viewers, of course. So please subscribe. All right. So with that being said, I want to get into something on the 4th of July. So now we understand the 4th of July to be a time for, I'm going to share my entire screen. All right. So I ain't got to go through all this. All right. So let's check this out. What we going to do? Let's check it out. So first, let's just look at the basic meaning of the 4th of July, right? All of y'all, we understand the 4th of July is for Independence Day. Independence Day for whom? Well, of course, it's for the United States, which was predominantly Anglo-Saxons that were doing this, right? So it was Englishmen Independence Day. I say that because you know, as melanated people, we get so caught up in this holiday, which is really not for us. But I'm going to show you what the true meaning and how we should really be celebrating this day. All right. So let's look at it. It says that America will be decked out in red, white, and blue on Thursday as millions across the nation celebrate the 4th of July. So it's the Independence Day commemorates the adoption of the Declaration of Independence, right? That's what it does. So that's the basic meaning behind it. This is what they teach everybody, right? So this is a little bit more information. A lot of people don't know how it became into be. Understand that the Second Continental Congress created the Declaration of Independence because of the separation from the Kingdom of Great Britain. That's what the Library of Congress says. Now, actual note is that the incident actually happened 2 days earlier. So this is something that we don't maybe know. That's basic information. That the Declaration of Independence happened really on July the 2nd. But they decided to do it on the 4th, this is why we're going to deal with this. The questions you should be asking yourself is why in July? Because there's been other days that have, like all this stuff happened between January 1st, 1776 and all the way to October, November, right? So, they didn't pick July, the 1st of July, because it was a good day to barbecue. All right. They picked it because it meant something to them. Right. So just to go on, it's hard to imagine that before America celebrated the 4th, the Library of Congress the celebrations didn't become widespread until the War 1812. Right. So a lot of people don't understand that. It says that after the War 1812, celebrations kept growing, becoming what is in the library known as the most important secular holiday on the calendar. And by 1870s, a time when a far-flung communities on the western frontier managed to congregate. So, the 4th of July was something that kind of came over time. It wasn't something that people, blasted off the fireworks and things of that nature, right? But where did that come from? Well, Francis Scott Key, if y'all know who that is, which has been known to have written racist a poem. Like, if y'all don't know anything, I'm not going to get into it, but the national anthem, we only sing the short version, but the longer version can be a little racist, okay? We're not going to get into that. Y'all can do your own research. But Francis Scott Key, he kind of wrote a poem about the War 1812. And so from his vantage point, he watched a 25-hour bombardment, they say, on Fort McHenry. So they said the 35-year-old was able to see the flag stayed up for hours in darkness and was still atop of the fort when the morning came. He turned it into a poem. So the poem speaks about the rocket's red glare, bombs bursting through air. So this right here is where you can see where they took and brought in the fireworks. Okay, so the fireworks were brought in because of the poem of this Francis Scott Key. Okay, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. Y'all know the basic emphasis on the 4th of July. But, what we really don't understand is why the 4th of July? Why that time of day? Right? Why? So before I get into that, I want to show you something about the astrological chart on that day. So what I did was I pulled up I pulled up a chart, right? The United States Declaration of Independence, the astrological article and chart. So this is what the chart would look like on July 4th. All right. Now, I am not going to get into a lot of the zodiac, but I want you guys to see. And for those, let me clear this off right here. For those who understand zodiac, who do zodiac readings, okay, who does a natal chart, this is the United States natal chart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show this, and I'm going to scroll through it. I'm not going to go into it too much, but you guys will have it to look at, and you can pause it and whatnot when you want to do it, right? And I might talk a little bit about it, but this is the birth chart. It says, let's see. Let's go through this birth chart. So it's saying, why is it interesting to study the events astrological chart, the natal chart, dominant planets, and their distribution for the United States Declaration of Independence? Okay. It says, though chart analysis and forecast is a branch of astrology, but it provides information about the quality of a given event and reviews its positive and negative potential. So understand that the people who put this together, right, they were not just your ordinary men. And I'm not speaking about everybody who was a forefather or who was part of building the United States, but a lot of the key people in the United States had valuable information. I would say esoteric information, right? And what we got to understand is that the people who was in part of this was the Freemasons, okay? A lot of these men were Freemasons, so we're going to get into that. But I wanted you to get a kind of a glimpse, right? I'm going to go back real quick, though. I want y'all to see this, right? Because I want to see. I'm trying to see something. So I just wanted to read this. Like, y'all can go back. But it was saying that July 4th at 4:50 p.m. So the sun sign is Cancer, right? The moon sign is Aquarius. Okay? The dominance, right? It's Cancer. The birth plan is 5. The birth path is 5. Okay? So I just wanted to bring that out. All right? So like I said, I'm not going to go all the way into this, but it says that, let's just look at this. Therefore, these pages give a natal chart of the United States with the position of planets, signs, and houses, as well as the graphs of the dominance and planetary distributions. So y'all see this, right? Like I said, if y'all got anybody that's astrology in the building, y'all leave comments, okay? The yin yang polarity, I thought that was interesting, right? So just look at this. Esoteric decadence. Okay. Dominance. The planet, signs, and houses for events. Okay. So y'all see y'all see this, right? Now I'm showing you this just because there is energy on that day and for a time. The Freemasons were into astrology. They had picked up a lot of that information from the Moors, okay? So let's go further into this. So I want to show you this. The serious secrets about the 4th of July. Now, why am I talking about serious? Because this, I wanted to show you the stars in astrology. Because the stars have a lot to do with the 4th of July. Okay, so the 4th of July has something to do with Sirius, the star. So let's look at this because this will make sense to you. Now look at this. It says what? Now, okay, let's go back. Some serious secrets about the 4th of July. What are the connections between Sirius and Independence Day? So July 4th is Independence Day, the day for the U.S. to celebrate, right? Now it says that, I'm going to skip down to this. It says that the brightest star in the heavens, Sirius, every year on July 4th, from our Earth's position, our sun is in conjunction with Sirius, the sacred star of Isis, or what we call Aset, okay, which is the goddess of divine feminine. All right, this is important. Esoterically, this star is our spiritual sun. Okay, so now let's look at what it just said. Esoterically, this is our spiritual sun. So there is no coincidence that the 4th of July was done in conjunction with the positions of the stars in the sky. It is a spiritual sun. It says, look, it is associated with liberation. According to the ancient teachings, the concept of freedom resides in human consciousness because of its influence of this star system. Okay? Do y'all understand what I'm saying to you? Man, I just looked outside and it just started pouring down, y'all, like crazy. I hope it don't like knock the power out or anything, right? But what I want, like this time of the year, every year, is about freedom, and it's done through the feminine energy. I don't know if y'all understand what I'm saying. So look at this. In esoteric philosophy, we are told, we understand this, that Sirius is the source of intelligences that originally came from the star Sirius to give infant humanity the source of divine wisdom, the divine spark of sacred fire from the halls of the blue flame. Y'all understand that? So why would these European, particularly Anglo-Saxon men from Britain, right? Why? How? What were they thinking about? I mean, because it's not a coincidence that they did it on this day. It's not a coincidence. Okay? It says, even, let's go a little further. It is a star believed to be a very high frequency. And this is the part that connects to us as the indigenous melanated people, because we understood that. It has been long revered by the Mayans and the ancient Egyptians. Now, y'all got to understand, like when we look at this right here, if y'all can see this, it's kind of hard to see, but if you look at this picture, right, the belt of Orion is where Sirius lies, in Orion, the belt of Orion. So Orion is it's been used, it's very popular. It's been used as in movies for years. Okay. But that Orion, those stars have been observed by the ancient Kemetics. And if you look at this picture, if you can see it, I don't know, I'm going to have to blow it up a little bit. I'm going to blow this picture up just a little midget. All right, so let's look at this picture. if you can see like what the, the pyramids over here in Giza are connected, they represent the belt of Orion. So the people in Kemet really had a connection to Sirius. And we're going to look at that a little bit further. Okay. Other civilizations also believe that the meeting of the sun and Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, was a signifier of illumination and a time when light and truth would be shed on the world. So now I'm gonna make now when we say illumination, let's make a connection because they're talking about illumination would be spread around the world. So the same understanding, you're talking about the Illuminati in a nutshell. Because Illuminati is about illuminating, it's about knowledge, it's light bearing. So in a sense, Sirius is a Lucifer or a light bearer. All right. So let's check that out. Let me see what's going on in the building. So with that being said, let's go back to it. Okay, so it's saying that Sirius is even brighter than our own sun. So Sirius, if we was to be over in that region, right? We was to go into the belt of Orion, Sirius will shine brighter than what we see, like how we see our own sun. So it's believed that the sun, our sun, is the illuminator of the physical world, whereas Sirius is the illuminator of the spiritual world. So spiritually, the United States was putting things into place on a spiritual level. This was the esoteric, the occult, if you will, the occult aspect of the 4th of July. The 4th of July is a very high spiritual day, y'all. So when y'all out here like eating these hot dogs and all this, crap, right? Which it basically is what Americans do on that day. Eat a lot of crap. Eat a lot of bad food, which in return, it takes your chakra system out of alignment. Your lower self is weighed down with a whole bunch of junk. Okay. You get and it's a lot of alcohol being drunk on this day. Holidays tend to be a lot of alcohol, but in particular, this day everybody's outside, everybody's drinking beer, drinking alcohol, just having fun, And for melanated people, they don't even know. They don't even know. So-called black people don't even understand that they're just playing along with the European when at this time, and I know y'all heard it, but I gotta say it, in 1776, melanated people, anybody pretty much who wasn't a European, predominantly Anglo-Saxon, that had land, that had money, everybody else was slaves. So, we know that so-called black people were enslaved in 1776. All right. We know this, right? Y'all got to know this. So let's look at this right here. I'm not gonna bust it all out like that, but I did, this is part of the esoteric knowledge that goes along. You don't think that these Albion, European Masons, Freemasons, Masons, you don't think that they had understood any of this? Now, I'm not saying that they knew everything, but we definitely can understand that this had to be in their mindset. So when Sirius and the sun meet around the 4th, right? The 4th through the 7th of July, the energy of Sirius is believed to become highly potent and influence planet Earth on a much more significant level. So what I want y'all to understand, guys, and what I want to do is I want y'all to understand this because we need to use this time and energy for the spiritual work that needs to be done in our community. If we want change in our community, this is the time to really put it together. We just coming in a few days ago. We just coming into summer, so we just had the summer solstice, right? And the summer solstice is opening that new energy, and then right behind it, we've got the the high rising of the Sirius star. Okay, now to go deeper, we're gonna get a little deeper than this, right? We're gonna get deeper because July, this time of year, is not just the time for transformation and spiritual enlightenment, but it also represented a new change in a year. So a lot of times, this is the new year, according to this calendar. Okay, but we're gonna get into that. So now it says, as a Cancerian sun and Sirius meet, right? The first week of July becomes the most powerful and potent time, listen, for making conscious changes, for spiritual advancement, and bringing new insight, y'all, into the world. Ashe? In that this principle of freedom is closely associated with the consciousness of Sirius. It governs the expanding initiations we reach as humans in our evolution to membership in the spiritual kingdom. Okay? So let's look around the world. So as astrologically, a conjunction is the strongest aspect of celestial bodies we can have. Our sun exactly conjoins Sirius in the sign of Cancer at 14 degrees, which occurs around the 4th through the 7th, America's Independence Day. It is strongly linked to the conjunction of Sirius and our sun. And interesting, they say enough, Canada is the first, July 1st, marks independence from Britain. Bastille Day is July 14th, and the transfer of sovereignty occurred with the surprise handover 2 days earlier on June 28th. So all these happen around the time of spiritual energy. No coincidences, right? So, okay, I'm going to look at this one extra part now. It says in recent times, Sirius has come to be associated with fame and riches. But depending on the connection with the chart, it can also be success that burns. When Sirius heats up, it's searing white heat. Check it out, white heat that causes a very hot temper. That's why they call it dog days, right? We're going to get into that. But it says that in the past, Sirius was associated with feverish temperatures, which brought pestilence, and the star was not regarded as a good omen at all. Sirius is Isis, the beloved wife of Osiris, which is Aset in Osir. Okay, this goddess is devoted, nurturing moon, and her association with Cancer, Decan 2, gives the ability to resurrect and breathe life into the dead. So when this time of year is the beginning of a new time. So it breathes life into the dead, right? I just want y'all to think about that. I need y'all to take this into your meditations tonight. When we go into our meditations tonight, let us bring in the energy and the power that we need to overcome whatever deficits, whatever issues that we have. Okay, so they talk about this as the new sun under this steady burn of the summer sun known as the dog days. Roman feared this time as the sea boiled and the wine turned sour. So on a superficial level, it was negative because of some of the things that happened. But we know that our ancestors, Ashe, they understood the power and the spiritual connection and power to this time of year. Okay. So let's look at the fireworks, because on a mundane level, we understand the fireworks meant something that was connected to, the War of 1812 or whatever, right? But let's look at what fireworks really meant. Fireworks, it says people will not see the operative or esoteric component of fireworks. In the eyes of Freemasonry, especially those of the founding fathers, steeped in the ancient mystery traditions of Egypt, our modern climax of firework explosion is yet another ancient fire fertility ritual. Okay, so once again, these things are not just surface level, right? They have esoteric meaning. They have a spiritual connection. So the climax of the climate of firework explosions is a ritual to bring back the return of the sun. Okay, same as New Year's, winter solstice. So at New Year's you got the winter solstice, which happens pretty much almost about the same amount of days after the solstice, right? So you got the solstice, which is a transformation period, and then you have fireworks to commemorate it. Well, in the same regard, you have fireworks on the 1st or the 4th, close to that time in July, to symbolize the return of the sun. Okay, which many people didn't understand. The reason we have fireworks on this day, the 4th, is because of how the universal brotherhood likes to celebrate new creations that symbolize new beginning. So when we use fireworks, we need to use fireworks instead of doing the ritual with the sentiment of the United States. Because what happens is this: we do fireworks with the notion of America in our mind, right? Because that's the ritual that the Europeans set up for us, right? So when we do these rituals, we don't understand that we're doing a ritual. It is a ritual. Now that you see, it is a ritual to have fireworks. It is a ritual to fire them off at this time. So let us use this time and use the ritual to perpetuate the freedom of the world from the clutches of the power that be in today. If you understand what I'm saying, I'm not trying to get blocked by, YouTube and whatnot. So I'm saying that stop using the powers to continue the systematic stuff that we're into, but use it to uplift us into to a higher plane. Okay, so that's okay. So let's go on to the next thing, okay? Because y'all understand that. Now, what I want to do is, we talked about the Freemasonry, right? The Freemasons play a major part in the United States using July 4th as its day of independence. We know that, like George Washington and Benjamin Franklin and people of the forefathers, many of them, not all, many of them were Freemasons, right? So let's look at Freemasons. This is based off the Masonic Lodge of Education, understanding Freemason. So the Masonic Blazing Star. What is the Masonic Blazing Star? The Masonic Blazing Star. This is not to be confused with the 5-pointed star, or maybe it should be confused with the 5-pointed star. Maybe they're trying to throw us off. But it's saying that it's one of the most important symbols in Freemason. So when we see this 5-pointed star, it may have a connection to Freemason. So the Masonic Blazing Star makes its appearance in several of the Masonic degrees. The information below is attributed to Mackey, Encyclopedia of Freemasons, 1929, in which Freemason scholars define the Masonic star of Freemasonry. Listen, it says that the Masonic blazing star makes its appearance in several Masonic degrees. Right? So let's get into this. All right. It says, noted Masonic scholar Hutchison said, it is the first and most exalted object that demands attention in the lodge. Like many Freemason symbols, it undoubtedly derives this importance first from the repeated use that is made of it as a Masonic emblem, and second, from its great antiquity as a symbol derived from older systems, which is what we talked about. These older systems is Kemet, Babylon, or Sumer, and the Dogons, which we'll deal with a little bit later, I think. All right, so it says part of the furniture of the lodge. So it says in its earliest monitors, immediately after the revival in 1717, okay, now 1717, around that time is when Freemasons for the Europeans became official. So around that time, right, the Blazing Star was not mentioned, but it was not long before it was introduced. So it was introduced in the instructions of 1735. It is detailed as a part of the furniture of a lodge, with the explanation that the mosaic pavement is the ground floor of the lodge. The blazing star, the center, and the indented tassel, the border around it. So this is 1735. So as y'all can tell, this is before the Declaration of Independence and before the 4th of July celebration. Okay, so this is years before that. So Masons had the knowledge of that star. So now it says the Star of Bethlehem. Okay, Bethlehem, it says in the lectures credited to Dunkerley and adopted by the Grand Lodge, the blazing star was said to represent the star which led the wise men to Bethlehem, proclaiming to mankind the nativity of the Son of God, and here conducting our spiritual progress to the author of our redemption. Okay? Now, so it has its connotations to the Bible, right? I'm trying to get to this other part. Let's see. So it says the creator, the Freemasons on the continent of Europe, speaking of this symbol, say that it is no matter whether the figure in which the blazing star forms the center be a square, triangle, or circle. It still represents the sacred name of God and the universal spirit who liveth our heart, who purifies our reason and increases our knowledge, and who makes us wiser and better men. Okay? So these are hints we find at the various times the Masonic blazing star has been declared to be a symbol of divine providence, the Star of Bethlehem, prudence, beauty, the sun. Okay? The sun. Okay? So let's look at this. We'll go back to Egypt idolatry. This idolatry was early learned by the Israelites from the Egyptian taskmaster. So Egyptian, once again, Kemet goes back to being the origin. And so unwilling were they to abandon it, that Moses found it necessary strictly to forbid the worship of anything that's in the heaven above. So this is where, like, it's interesting because if I'm gonna say if you're a Christian or a particularly maybe Jewish origin, it possibly Islamic, that the 4th of July is a pagan tradition. It's a pagan holiday, of course, right? So is the 4th of July really the way you want to practice it? Because, not to get off on a tangent, but Freemasons were not necessarily a Christian people. Okay, they practiced, they studied from different religions. They studied from Islam, and they studied from Judaism. They studied from ancient Egyptian, right? So they were not necessarily Christian. And so a lot of what we understand with the religious aspect, not religious, but what we understand the 4th of July to be and how we practice it is definitely, as you can see, not necessarily Christian, right? So these are some of the things that's the issues, right? Now, I'm not going to go all the way into it, but how am I going to connect it to it, right? Now, this is where I want to go because, you're like, well, how do we know that star is dealing with that star? The Freemasons could have had a different star, right? Okay, let's look at this real quick. It says that the planet Saturn was worshipped under the name of Moloch, Malcolm or Milcom, by the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Phoenicians, and the Carthaginians. And under that, right, Chiam by the Israelites in the desert. Saturn was worshipped among the Egyptians under the name of, I'm not sure of this name because this is not the name that they use, but Reichfin, or it has also been called in the Septuagint Rimfin. Okay, so just stay with me, y'all. Stay with me. There is no evidence that the Israelites worshiped the dog star in the wilderness. So this is where I want to go. There's no evidence that the Israelites worshiped the dog star. So they're talking about the dog star. The dog star is Sirius. Sirius is known as the dog star. The Dogons, the DOGONS, Dogons, all part of that. This is why they call it the dog days of summer, okay, which we talked about. So they are relating this back to the dog star. They're saying that the Egyptians didn't worship the dog star because Moses forbid them to do it. This is particularly in Egyptian idolatry where the dog star was worshipped. So we go back to what we understand because it was we're talking about Sirius in the Hilarical Rising. So the Hilarical Rising is July 4th. July 4th is the highest rising of the star of Sirius. Okay? So I just wanted to show that because I had to make that connection. The Masons understood this. They were aware of this. Okay? Notwithstanding the few dispensaries that may have occurred in Masonry lectures as arranged by the various periods, blah, blah, blah. But what I want to say is this right here. It says that in concurrent testimony of the ancient religions, the hieroglyph language proved that the star was a symbol of God. Okay. The Masonic blazing star as a Christian emblem. The application of the Masonic blazing star as the emblem of the Savior has been made by those writers who gave the Christian explanation of their emblems. So the Christians took, like they normally do, they take of pagan traditions, pagan symbolism, and they place their own symbolism on it, right? So, but a true Christian, if they unravel the history, they will understand that this is all pagan. Okay, it's not Christian. It's not, the great Christian way of America. This is not it. So when we think we're being patriotic, especially you so-called black people, run around here trying to be patriotic with this red, white, and blue, not understanding that you're trying to be patriotic to a system that is using these spiritual energies to continue its dominance on the world. You're contributing to that without even realizing that this is your science and that you guys could use this in another way. Okay, so I'm not gonna get all into this. Y'all can maybe pause it, check it, right? Not gonna get all the way into it. Let's keep going. I'm gonna throw this shout out in here to this right here. I wanted to throw this in there. So guys, check this book out. I want to check this book out. I have not checked this book out. This is something I haven't seen. However, I am familiar with what I believe is in this book, but I want to read it, and I'm just going to put it out there for you guys to check out. So it's called The Secret African City, Ancient Egyptians' Influence on Washington, D.C., the Planning and the Architecture in the 18th and 19th century. All right. So I just wanted to throw that out there because, a lot of people don't really get into this. Right. So let's continue on this. All right. So let's look at it. I just want to read this. The Secret African City is a project that fulfills both academic and personal interests. So they're showing you that throughout American history, ancient Egypt art and architectural concepts have served as a blueprint for the development of state capital of DC, right? So there is African influence on the layouts of DC, where the monument constructions have occupied its streets. Traditionally, people of African descent among Americans were not aware of African and more specifically Egyptian contributions to Western civilization. Okay? It says by researching the works of scholars like David Overson, James Curl, one of our late Ashe, Ivan Van Sertima, Anthony Browder, among others, an examination has been done to decode as well as unveil the significance of the ancient Egyptian-inspired structural designs within DC. As a result, the misconceptions that the edifices of District of Columbia were initiated on behalf of the nation's forefathers, right, appear to have different origins and roots. Also, the honorary legacy of President George Washington is investigated to dominate the ways in which the position of power as the U.S. president and also his association with Freemasonry as a master mason influenced the evolution and construction of the U.S. Capitol and the planning of the city of D.C. So Masons, Freemasonry plays an important part in American history. It plays an important part in the 4th of July, and it goes back to a more esoteric meaning. All right. So y'all follow me? I'm going to stop this screen share real quick. So what I want to do is I want to keep going. I'm going to keep going because we're going to keep sharing what's really going on. Okay. Let me look at one more. Okay. It says I wanted to look at this real quick, right? The stars Sirius and Egypt. Because we made the connection. We understand that Freemasons understood the star. We understand the Freemasons played a part in creating the 4th of July. And there is a major connection with Freemasons and Egypt that I can't even get into tonight, but there is. So, like I said, y'all please like this video and please share this video. So let's look at this. It says Star, Sirius, and Egypt. Let's get a little bit deeper into it. If you happen to be outside, you can look up, you'll see what it seems to be millions of stars. However, on any given night, we can actually see only about 2, 3, 5, maybe up to 5,000 visible stars, right? Planets and gods. Planets were identified as gods at some time, right? Astrology became a friend of mankind, right? Each star had its own effect and specific energy, but one stood out more than others because of it was the brightest of them all. Sirius. Okay, so Sirius is the brightest star in the sky and is conspicuously more luminous than any other star, right? We said this. Now it says that Sirius has a bluish and white. Okay. Now it's important for you to understand it because what are the colors of the United States? And what is the major colors of 4th of July? Red, white, and blue. So you got a bluish white, okay, that you got going on. It says, but cycles through various colors as it twinkles. It catches an unexpected glimpse of it on this cold night. That can be breathtaking. Okay. So let me check something out. Let me look at all right. Let me get back to it. Where was I at? Which one was I at? Let me see. All right, so let's get back. It says now, astronomically speaking, Sirius is known as Alpha Canis Majoris. In the world of astronomy, the lower the apparent magnitude of the celestial body, okay, the brightest object, Sirius has an apparent magnitude of negative 1.46. So by comparison, the second brightest star in the sky is Canopus, appearing in the constellation Centaurus. Okay, and it's saying it's a negative 0.72. So it's like it's saying roughly half as bright as Sirius. Right? So hold on, let me please. Yo, I'm doing a video. Brother. I'll hit you back. All right. So what it's saying is that Sirius is 40 times brighter than our sun. And it's only 8.6 light years away. Okay. Following the Orion constellation, meaning between the two. So Sirius is part of a constellation called Canis Major, or the Big Dog. So this is why we talk about the dog stars. Okay. It's called the Big Star. This is relating you right back to when we looked at Masonry. It was called the Dog Star. Interestingly enough, the constellation and star has been associated with dogs and wolves in many cultures. There are numerous reasons why this could be, but the most obvious is that Sirius seems to be following a great giant in the sky, Orion. Okay, so like I said, these are the dog. We're about to go into the dog days. So Sirius brings in the dog energy. Okay, it brings in the dog energy, the dog days. So let's look at this even further to bring it together. It says that this association has definitely influenced how the star was viewed, as well as in energy that is perceived to be emitted from it. So they're telling you that there is an energy that is emitted directly from Sirius. It says that Sirius wasn't always a dog, though. Now, it's talking about in ancient Egypt, he was associated with the goddess Isis, which we call Aset. Aset, especially in its capacity as a signal that the Nile flood was on the way. So this is why it was so important to people in Kemet, because it signified the flood. The star could be connected to Osir as well, and as Anubis, as the goddess of Sirius. Now, if y'all know anything about Anubis, Anubis is a dog, right? You got the head of a dog. So there's some kind of constellation with that, right? So now let's look at this. In Western culture, Canis Major is the dog of Orion, meaning the hunter. So we understand Orion being a hunter, right? And, symbolically, hunters have dogs. So I think that's another reference to dogs, right? Of course, right? So let's continue and look at Sirius and ancient Kemet. Ancient Egyptian temples were aligned to the star. So this star that is so dominant on July 4th was very, very important to our ancestors. Although it might be tempting to think that the only reason for its great popularity was that it's the brightest star, right? But thousands of years ago in ancient Egypt, a culture that watched the sky carefully, right? The heliacal rising of Sirius coincided with the summer solstice. You understand? This rising occurs when the star, after having been hidden in daylight for a period of time, can once again be seen shortly before sunrise. So what happens is this: the star is predominantly not seen until a certain time of the year. Once it gets to this high point, it's able to be seen on the horizon. Okay. And it can be seen so bright that it can be seen right at sunrise. So it kind of reminds me of Venus, right? Because you can also see Venus, which Venus is not a star, it's a planet, right? But it's the brightest planet. And you can see the brightest planet right before the sunrise. This is what we're going to talk about. This moment, right? When this moment of the rising of Sirius, this moment defined in ancient Egypt or Kemet New Year. So this was the Egyptians' New Year. Their calendar was based off of Sirius. And this New Year, it was preparing them for the coming flood and the life-giving fertility that would arrive from it. So it says the Sirius had disappeared into the daylight hours approximately 70 days earlier. So interestingly enough, the standard period of preparation and mourning for the ancient Egyptians was also 70 days. It is easy to see how Sirius could be associated with Osir in this case. So Osiris being over death, if you will. This really had a lot to do with how they looked at Sirius. There's the connection. So our ancient, deities or our ancient spiritual connections had a lot to do with Sirius. Some metaphysical scholars believe that in the heliacal rising of Sirius and the ancient Egyptian New Year is instrumental in the planetary affiliation of the numbered cards in tarot. So even like when you look at tarot, it is beyond the scope of this article is saying that to address it, but they believe that this is incorrect, that there's much more sensible explanation into why the system began as it does. So let's look. The flooding of the Nile was mythically considered to have been caused by the tears of Set or Isis, mourning her slain husband. So they used this story. I'm not going to say all this, but they used the story, and I can see how they tie in the 70 days. to the mourning of Isis or Set. Sirius is acknowledged by every culture every year. The so-called dog days of summer were once directly blamed upon the dog star. The name Sirius means searing, glowing, or scorching. The reason for this connection was due to the appearance of Sirius in conjunction with the time leading to the hottest part of the year. So, like they said, that Sirius represents the beginning of summer. So, like, if we look at it on a mundane, the 4th of July often kicks in summer. And what do? We're outside, we're barbecuing, we're having fun. It's probably, it's probably the hottest days of the year thus far. When we go into July, between July and August, the hottest days. So a lot of that has to do with the dog star. So it said, although Sirius has been viewed as a positive omen in energy, it has just been feared and things of that nature. So we understand that. We already talked about that. Sirius as a symbol. In Sirius' capacity as a surrogate for Anubis, it represents the unfailing protection and safe passage from one realm to the next. As a representative of Isis, Sirius represents the constancy of devotion to the task at hand and the unwillingness to give up, no matter what the cost. This is important, my people, melanated people. This is important. This is why I say it's important for us to, at this time of the year, for us to do our spiritual work. This is the time. This is the time we can't give up. We cannot give up on what we believe. We cannot give up on whatever it is that you got going on in life. If you're not making the money you need, if you're not getting the success, or you're not getting, you're not getting your goals met. This is the time of year, people. Between the time of the summer solstice and now is the most powerful time of the year. Okay. The next powerful time of the year would be the winter solstice. Right? But this time of the year, for us, is very important. So please put your meditations to work. Put your prayers to work. Put your rituals to work. Use the power of the rituals to manifest what you need in this next year. To manifest your goals. Okay? Now, this right here I want to get into, because this is going to lead me right into what I want to talk about. I think it is. So, why I talked about the doggone. So you got the doggone people of Africa, which has got the word dog in it. The doggone are very intricately part of Sirius. So let's look at it. So in 1862, it was discovered that Sirius had a binary partner. Listen, a blue dwarf star has been called Sirius B, nicknamed the Pup. One of the great mysteries of the Sirius star system has to do with the doggone people in Africa. It is reported in the 20th century that they knew the existence of Sirius B, although they wouldn't have no way of knowing it since they possess no distant viewing technology. So with the Albion, so-called white man, he's like, well, how did they know? Like, how are these, people which they probably looked at as primitive, how would they know? But you gotta understand that ancient Kemet already had a relationship with the star system. So it would have been not a big stretch for the doggone people to have learn and also have information. Now, it says, although this is certainly possible, that they somehow knew, perhaps through the, I don't know if you know about astral projection, but our ancestors used different techniques to go into other realms of consciousness and to travel. So, for example, if you use ayahuasca, if you ever have used ayahuasca, you know that you will travel far and wide on ayahuasca. People who are into meditation and things of that nature, they also know about astral projection. I know many people, including myself, who have practiced astral projection. Okay, so I'm not going to rule that out. I'm not saying that that was the way that we knew, but I wouldn't rule that out. Or my ancestors knowing how to connect with the star. It's no telling. Like if our ancestors already understood on July 4th that the star rises and it was already had spiritual significance, it wouldn't be far fetched that many of the priesthood would use that day to do spiritual work. All right. So it's saying in divine reflection, some make a claim that the stars are directly connected to the consciousness of God. So, I mean, like, this is what I'm saying to y'all. The star Sirius is such a powerful star that the Albion Europeans used it to create their independence from it. They used it to create independence, right? We understood it to be connected to God, to the divine, right? So I'm saying all this because I think that it's necessary for us to definitely look at this different. And I want to talk about the real melting pot real quick. Now, I don't have a lot on this, but this all ties into what we're talking about tonight. The melting pot of America. What is the melting pot? When I talk about the melting pot, I am not speaking about the people. Like, they talk about how you have all these different people from different cultures that were able to come to America and, come together as one nation and things of that nature. Now, I think that's a lot of BS, all right, because a lot of people who came to America, they did not have the rights. They didn't have constitutional rights. They, many Africans that are and indigenous people that were already here were enslaved. And the Chinese, Japanese people that came over here that were not part of the Anglo-Saxons were pretty much shunned and not treated equal. So I don't think it really has anything to do with the culture melting pot. But what I think it is that America was created off of different cultures because you had Masons that blended the science and knowledge of Kemet, Egypt. They blended Rome. Okay. I think I'm trying to see it. Did I have a video, a thing on Rome? But these things, these Rome, Egypt, and Babylon. Okay. There's a melting pot of different culture, knowledge, okay, different esoteric principles that have been brought to America with the combination of the Native American, the indigenous culture, their sciences. That is the melting pot of America. This is what has made America great. All right. So understand that. Now, before I finish up, let us look at one more thing, right? Because I wanted to talk about the doggone just a little bit more. I think it was another there was another screen, right, that I wanted to discuss it on. And because really, like I said, all this stuff stems from our culture. This is our culture. This is our stuff that we've been practicing, right? So let's look at it because y'all think that we talking about just Egypt, right? And Kemet, but doggone are very African because people want to talk about Kemet not being African. We know damn well that Kemet is African, but in West Africa, which a lot of uh, the African people that did come over here come from West Africa, and West Africa is well, not with, but Dogon is part of that tribe. Dogon. So let's look at the Dogon. The Dogon were an ethnic group located in the districts of Mali. So we're talking about West Africa, right? Dogon typically live in caves, less than 500 people. Okay, not going too far into it. Sirius, the brightest star. We talked about it. The constellation of Orion. The mystery. Now I want to get deeper into this because we kind of cut that off when we got on the other thing. Let's look at it a little bit more. So basically they're saying that these anthropologists in 1931 studied with them for a few years, studied with the Dogon. And they wrote a book about it called The Serious Mystery of Robert Temple, by Robert Temple, okay? So let's look at it. It says it claimed that during this study, that these two anthropologists had access to the Dogon innermost religious secret, much of this being naturally of an obscure and complex nature. Some of those secrets were rather startling, less obscure than the two had been expecting. It appears that the Dogon people, without much way of telescopes, knew a great deal about Sirius, and surprisingly still claimed it had a companion star. So they wrote about this. First, Temple argued that it is impossible for the Dogon to have knowledge of the companion star. It is too small to be seen with the naked eye. The Dogon also identifies Sirius B as being very heavy, which is true. But again, it's something they couldn't know without observing the star or understanding its actions of Osiris A. Additionally, the Dogon knowledge predated the Western discovery for centuries. See what I'm saying? So, like what I'm saying is, our ancestors have been connected with. We've been connected with Sirius. We understood the relationship with the, the, the other aspects of the heavens that surround this Sirius. Okay, and we incorporated it into our religious understanding. And it says it here that the clincher for the temple was a Dogon myth, which told of its contact with the Nama. So what they're saying that according to the Dogon, an ark descended from the sky amid a great wind, and this brought to Nomo to earth. Nomo is supposedly came to earth to set up civilization. It was a group of amphibious beings. The Nomo were apparently from Sirius, or at least a planet orbiting Sirius, and passed on much of the information to the Dogon. Now, if I look at this esoterically, when we're talking about Sirius, and we're saying that, especially when it's at its highest point on July 4th, it emanates an energy. Okay. So if you are in tune with that energy, you will be able to pick up that transmission. Okay, you would pick up on that transmission. So when they saying, to me, in my understanding, is that the information that the Dogon have come from Sirius. Could it not be that they were in tune with the transmission? and that transmission was able to give information. Okay? So this is why I say, let's take the time to study, and let us, in this time, let us reflect on what the 4th of July really is about. And it means a lot to me because coming from an African-centered perspective, we've always looked at the 4th of July as being a, so-called white man holiday, right? As a pro-black, if you will, a pro-melanated conscious being, we often looked at 4th of July as the holiday of the enemy, the white man, right? And many of us that are conscious or that are woke will not do anything on that day as a sign of rebellion or revolution against our oppressor, our system, because that whole story of Independence Day and things of that nature really don't have anything to do with us. But now that I understand and I have peeled back the layers of the 4th of July, I do now understand that it's not about the independence of America, but it symbolizes a spiritual energy that will make us as human beings. It makes us free. So now that I understand that, I have a totally different understanding. And when I now, for me to participate in the 4th of July, I will use the rituals of fireworks, of meditation, of prayer. I will use these tools to connect back to my ancestors' understanding of that day and to use it to benefit me and the melanated people around the world, particularly in my community. We must use this day in a whole different spiritual manner. Okay, we got to let go of the hot dogs and the fire, like these things. We got to use this time to purify us, because this is really a time of purification. It's a time of renewal. It's a time of rejuvenation. It is the beginning of the Egyptian or Kemetic New Year. So let us study on these things and bring these things to fruition so that we can participate in the 4th of July the correct way. All right. So with that being said, y'all, I appreciate everybody coming through. Please like this video. Like I said, share this video and, enjoy the day off and use this day to facilitate spiritual work. Ashe. So with that being said, I say tuta nana. Peace.